earth, the cycle of predator and prey, the inevitability of disease, decay, and death. For thousands of years, Orthodox religions have taught us that this world, with all its inherent suffering, was forged by a loving, omnipotent creator. They taught us that the material universe is a profound gift, and our highest calling is to worship the architect who built it. But what if the architect was deeply flawed? What if the universe is not a masterpiece but a botched imitation? What if the God of Genesis is not the supreme being, but an arrogant, blind impostor who built a material prison to trap fragments of true divinity? This is the central explosive premise of Gnosticism. Flourishing primarily in the 2nd and 3rd centuries of the Common Era, Gnosticism is one of the most misunderstood and violently suppressed spiritual movements in human history. To call it a heresy, as the early Catholic Church did, is to view it through the lens of the victors. Modern historians recognize that Gnosticism was not a single, monolithic church, that instead it was a vibrant, chaotic, and intellectually rigorous ecosystem of spiritual thought that competed directly with what would eventually become Orthodox Christianity. To understand the Gnostics, we must first abandon the word belief. Orthodox faiths demand pistis, faith or belief in things unseen. The Gnostics, however, demanded gnosis. Derived from Greek, gnosis does not mean the accumulation of data or intellectual knowledge. It is deeply experiential. It is an intuitive, mystical awakening to the true nature of reality. It is the sudden, earth-shattering realization that your true self, your highest consciousness, is alien to this universe. You are a divine spark trapped in the meat of a physical body, wandering through a nightmare created by an ignorant god. And gnosis is the only key to the prison door. To understand how such a radical theology emerged, we must look at the soil.
That's why prisons are so rampant and slavery is part of the world, and people always justify it somehow, but there is no justification for the organized crime that is society. And this is why I say, just because I got targeted, now I see it, that you don't have to do anything wrong to be a target.
In which it grew. The 1st and 2nd centuries CE were a time of unprecedented cultural collision. The conquests of Alexander the Great and the subsequent establishment of the Pax Romana had erased the old borders of the Mediterranean and the Near East. The epicenter of this intellectual earthquake was Alexandria, Egypt. Here, the great library housed the collected knowledge of the ancient world. Jewish mystics, Greek philosophers, Egyptian priests, and early followers of Jesus of Nazareth rubbed shoulders in the bustling streets. Gnosticism was born from this intense syncretism. It synthesized 3 major intellectual pillars. The first, Middle Platonism. The Greek philosophical concept that the material world is merely a shadow of a higher, perfect realm of forms or pure spirit. The second, Jewish apocalypticism and mysticism. The rich traditions of angels, demons, and the questioning of how a perfect God could allow the destruction of the Second Temple in 70 CE. And lastly, early Christianity. The figure of Jesus Christ, stripped of his Jewish messianic, earthly context, and elevated to a purely spiritual being, an emissary from the realm of light sent to wake up humanity. But the Gnostics took these elements and pushed them to radical extremes, creating a cosmology so complex and staggering that it completely bypassed the book of Genesis. If the Gnostics believed the creator of our world was an impostor, then who was the true God? In Gnostic texts, particularly within the sophisticated Sethian tradition, named for their reverence of Adam's third son, Seth, the ultimate reality is far beyond human comprehension. They employed what theologians call apophatic theology, or negative theology, describing God only by what God is not. The Apocryphon of John, one of the most important Gnostic texts ever discovered, describes the true God, often called the monad, the invisible spirit, or the one. It reads in part, "He is illimitable since there is nothing before him to limit him. He is immeasurable light, which is pure, holy, and immaculate. He is ineffable, being perfect in every respect. He is neither corporeal nor incorporeal. He is neither large nor small." The monad did not create the universe as a craftsman builds a table. Creation, in the physical sense, involves getting your hands dirty with matter, which the Gnostics viewed as inherently corrupt and chaotic. Instead, the monad emanated. Think of a glass water overflowing, or the sun radiating light. The monad thought, and its thoughts became living divine entities. These entities are called aeons. The aeons emanated in pairs of male and female known as syzygies, representing complex philosophical concepts like mind, or nous, truth, or aletheia, word, or logos, and life, or zoe. Together, the monad and the hierarchy of aeons form the pleroma, a Greek word meaning the fullness. The pleroma is the true divine realm. It is a state of perfect harmony, light, and mathematical symmetry, existing entirely outside of time and physical space. It is the true home of the spirit. If the pleroma was perfect, how did the acme of the material universe come to be? The answer lies in the lowest of the aeons. Her name was Sophia, which in Greek translates to wisdom.
Okay,
The tragedy of Sophia.
You can see it yourself. I just want to skim through the important parts.
Demiurge, the false creator. Alone in the abyss, surrounded by dark matter, Yaldabaoth arrogantly proclaimed the words that echo through orthodox scripture, but given a chilling new context by the Gnostics. I am a jealous god, and there is no other god beside me. With these words, the Demiurge began the work of building a prison. He began to create the material universe. To the Gnostic, the universe was not merely a physical space, it was a layered fortress. When the Demiurge, Yaldabaoth, fashioned the cosmos, he did not act alone. He birthed a hierarchy of archons, celestial governors whose names, such as Sacklus and Nebruel, reflected their inherent ignorance. These archons were assigned to the 7 planetary spheres that ancient humans saw moving across the night sky. In the Gnostic worldview, these were not just celestial bodies, but checkpoints. The archons instituted Hymermene, or fate. By using the stars and the laws of physics, they bound the human spirit to a deterministic cycle of suffering. Every tragedy, every illness, and every moment of despair was a calculated friction.
But this explains a lot, but you could see it in a polarized, a bit negative, like the way he's explaining it. Not negative, but through the suffering of our eyes. I relate to this because I am targeted. So when your body is in a suffering state, you understand the universe more through doom and gloom. But my spirit is happy. That's how you know when you've touched something, the great part of you it's part of something, the monad, the pleroma. When you don't care how your life is. My life is terrible, but compared to even 20 years ago, or even compared to 5 years ago or 3 years ago, I'm happy. It's not about being happy. It's that I feel how ridiculous this facade is, no matter what's happening to me. I don't like it, the physical part. Like, who does? And people are liars if they say they like pain. The reason why pain exists is to not like it. Just like you can have parts of your brain that after, if you're sick with them or if you hit your head, then you don't feel pain. That is the only way that you don't really get repulsed by pain, is if you're cut off from it, whether with anesthesia or with an injury to the brainstem. But that's what I'm trying to say, that no matter how you look at it, what we're living right now is a desperation, because when people that have been meditating through generations, because I'm trying to complete the teaching, because some people say, yes, it's nice for a guru to say, in a few years, Jesus will be 21 years old in 2032, or Buddha, because they say it's the same soul at different times in history. Who knows? Doesn't matter. Aliens, which one are true? Which experiments are true about the Looking Glass projects of the United States, the CIA, Project Blue Beam, Project Blue Book, Project, like the ones with, talking about psychic phenomena. It went over 20 years, and it might still be going on. Of course, psychic, but they use it mostly as a weapon. They don't relate to karma. They don't relate to the whole system. And some people are blind to that system. They say, there's a mysterious reason why animals eat each other, why we keep killing each other. We think we're smarter than animals, but animals mostly, once they solve the problem of territory and food, they don't kill each other. But we do. We kill each other just because we want more, even when we have enough to survive. That's where you see that what's ruling the world right now is not logic, and it's not common sense, and it's not spiritual. It's a bad photocopy of what. So everybody that's still attached to, but we have to do this. We have to keep an eye on that person. We have to torture that person. We have to punish that person. It's because you're still in a loop. You're not logical. You're not like Spock, or you're not even like what an ideal, what we teach kids in school is to be good, to not look for fights, to be honest. Like this girl spoke at the UN, she goes, but you don't practice what you teach us in schools. School is a great way of teaching, and families too. But the people teaching you that, they had police officers come and tell us safety things or whatever, but they're not applying that. They're not showing that. So they say, do as we say, but not as we do. So this is the problem, and I'll skim through it a little more, but...
Some highly attractive to the educated Roman elite, and for decades, it existed as a church within the church.
And what surprises me the most is the religion that's mostly corrupt right now is the Jewish religion. It's the most corrupt militarily, at least the Zionists. But if you look at the history, they were one of the three biggest Jewish mystics were part of the Gnosticism. I did not know that. That's the biggest stigma I'm showing this. So you see how God is corrupted even in an energetic 3D form, because there is a God that's demonic and he rules everything, because it's almost like formed by our belief. It's formed by our degradation, by our separation from God. It's like when God overflowed, he allowed for aberrations. It's almost like the physical world is God's cancer. That's why sometimes I say, well, police, what you're doing to me is bad. It's shit. It's a cancer. And evil is a cancer, because it's not only evil, even good on the planet. If good depends on evil and it depends to control others to be good, then it's not real good. Real good leaves everybody free, even to do bad. That's why it exists. See, you understand the loop I'm in right now. So good is so powerful, the real good, the spark of God, that's why indirectly it let the experience take on a life of its own. Because God it's like saying a 3D movie is more visually impressive. The demiurge has no power in front of God. It's not like, even here it explains in this explanation, but that's on the lower realms. The light fights with the dark and the dark wins, but that's only on the lower frequency. When it relates to God himself, it's like all that exists is God. So it's God's own aberration that when it wants to experience the 3D. Is anybody following this? It's very complex, because I'm learning as I teach or guide, because these are just ways of explaining how I feel about what I feel that's hidden in matter. You can't go looking in text for experiencing. That's why it's called gnosis. This relates to a little bit how I feel when I meditate and when I'm not in fight or flight, which is like 80% of my life, to say the least. So when I'm not in fight or flight, and when my body is not malfunctioning like 80% or 90%, then I feel what he's saying. But here it's not that everything he's saying is perfect. I take every video as a possibility, and as I don't believe in belief. That's why it's Gnosticism means experiencing, knowing. It's true knowledge. It's not knowledge like math, or like they say here. It's not mathematical or data like a computer knowledge. It's knowledge of experience. That's why when you take a license of any vehicle, you have to actually do the driving with an inspector. And thank God there's still some things that make sense in society. Not many. Like I said, the basic good and bad, hurting and stealing, still that is acknowledged, but only when it affects status and police. That's when they're punished. But if bad people punish other bad people, no one cares. Poor people suffer, even though they pretend to care. It's all pretend. That's why Medicare never worked. You always have to have some kind of status for the doctors really to take an interest and help you, or you have to have the system partially payable like we're seeing now. But I don't want to get into that. The whole point is that the world is fake. And by the time you find out, you could be in a situation like me. So hopefully the world, by the time you figure it out, how real the corruption is, how big it is, hopefully, it's already past. It's already finished. The negative has to be finished soon. That's why I say, please, everybody targeting me, don't do it. Because soon everything is going to be solved, and I have nothing to do with it, not physically. And well, maybe that's what I'm saying. Maybe my node, the connection to the pleroma,
and to the monad, which is God. Yes, people think it's so hard to reach God. It's hard if you go about it in the wrong direction. If you want to find God through matter and knowledge and money, then you will never find God. God is something that you don't look for. He's already there, except he's telling you, if you're not too stupid to feel that I'm here, then you don't feel it.
Or going to IMAX is more impressive than going to a regular theater. So that's what the monad is. That's what the pleroma is. It's the reality behind the reality that we are living just for experience. But it's not easy to stay in that state. Not even for me, not even for, but for the inner government, the true government, the true Zionists. No, there's no Zionism in reality. That's just on 3D. Anything controlling and military is only temporary and on 3D. Have you seen Hitler anywhere around these days? There's a lot of bombs falling. There's a lot of people threatening Trump and other countries and whatever. And some people, even beautiful reporters like Rebel News, they're too much for the Jewish side. I'm Jewish and I'm not for the Jewish and I'm not for the Muslim. I'm for peace. I feel like I relate mostly to those people that live in the borders of Israel and Gaza, and they say it's so easy to get along when you have a common ground. The common ground is that we're all the same. People hurting me. That's why I hate them for making me not hate them, but despise them or try to call them out on what they're doing to me, because I try to find compromise, but it's not in their vocabulary, it's not in their behavior. Yesterday, I don't even know if they'll let me upload this one because they control everything I do. I wish I could show you, because the moment I'm going to show that video, because it shows it's just harassment, and I don't want to say other theories, but what I'm saying is they never stop. And there's enough videos that show that they find so many ways of hurting me technologically to my water. I'm drinking a coffee now, not even sure if it's going to make me interiorly bleed, because I don't know, because I feel sick, my mouth gets dry, and they even send people to make fun of that. Everywhere I buy water in a vicinity, I don't know if they put some kind of genetic thing, because if not, they're poisoning other people too. It's not an immediate poison, but it bothers the health. Look, I'm drinking it. I have no choice. I can't go out. It's slippery. I get followed anyway. So it may not be something deadly, but they contaminate everything. They gave me a hamburger from a girl that was paid by the police in Montreal at Burger King near the Metro L'Angélie. And I have to say it because it shocked me, and it might happen again. And I was like freaking out how bad I felt. But they don't care. For them, they say, well, you bothered us. But what do you mean? You're torturing me every day. I should be allowed, police, to do anything I feel my animalistic, perverted part like you should be able to, but should if I had status like you. But obviously, people are not even allowed breathing the wrong way that are spiritual. Or even in society, we have to follow all these ridiculous laws and rules. But the people in status, the people in the government, they're making laws that protect them. Even if they steal or kill someone accidentally, they don't owe them nothing. They don't owe us not even an explanation for the laws. Bill C-63.
What they're doing to me, they don't answer.
Temporarily blocked, thank God. But for how long? They should be in jail, the people. I'm not wishing that. According to their laws, Bill C-8, C-9, C-63, there's parts of them, not all of that law that is bad, but at least 40% of that law that should be abolished forever and never be written similarly. But they don't see that, because the whole point that Trump now, it's not that I like that Trump is bothering a lot of people, and myself included, but I like that he's contesting the status quo. The people that hurt us in Canada are being attacked also by Trump. Not only I'm being attacked, and you're being attacked by a bigger demiurge figure. Trump is like an honest demiurge that comes out in the open. And he's necessary for the planet. He has good energy behind him. As much as he's delusional and aggressive and bully. In business, he's the most damaging for now. But give him a chance. He's doing the work, even though his intent maybe would have been for peace. But peace under his condition. Just like me, maybe I wouldn't have got tortured by the police if I would have shown that they were traumatizing me just with the social bullying and the social harassment and persecution. Now they've gone to the physical, and the amount of agents, I was about to show it one time because there was a Post Canada truck, and I said, I'll bet you And it's like the guy with the glasses in that movie that he sees the robotic or weird alien creatures under the guise of human beings, you know? And the moment I film, I know if that vehicle if it jams my recording and it switches my phone to a weird recording type that's like stretched, it becomes filmed reversed, like, you know, the when the screen moves. And plus it's 360 angle. This phone has a 360 angle, and I don't know if they can do this to the other phone, but so they just switch everything, the camera, so it becomes taped very warped that you can't even make out the license plates or people's face. Not easily, at least. I'm sure there's technicians that could, but I don't have them. If I show on my channel, people are just gonna say it's a poor guy that doesn't know how to record. So, you know, I doubt that this video is ever gonna go up. Maybe if I could use my free hours, because right now I'm expecting a call from my company just to show me how to see if I could get away from but they're gonna they jam everything, so it's like space jam.
Century, the Gnostic movement faced existential threat, not from the Roman Empire's persecutors, but from within the Christian fold, as the proto-Orthodox Church sought to standardize its teachings to survive a hostile world. The Gnostic emphasis on personal internal revelation became a liability. The primary architect of the anti-Gnostic campaign was Irenaeus of Lyon. Around 180 CE, he penned Adversus Heresies, a massive 5-volume polemic designed to dismantle Gnostic thought. Irenaeus' argument was as much about power as it was about theology. He argued for apostolic succession, the idea that truth was passed down visibly and physically from Jesus to the apostles, and then to the bishops. To Irenaeus, the Gnostics were thieves and robbers because they claimed a secret, invisible line of transmission. He mocked their complex genealogies of aeons as fables for old women. In part, they tell us that there are certain things which are within the pleroma.
But this is what I mean. It's like, if you speak of aliens or psychic powers to your doctor in schools, you could get brought to psychiatry. And a lot of people, that's the irony and the hypocrisy and the cowardness of the system, is that if they do research, they experiment on aliens, they kill them even, they lie to us, that's okay, because it's the government, it's for national security that they investigate aliens and psychic powers. But if we even talk about it and they don't like us, it's good enough to jail us or put us in psychiatry. So this is what I mean by it's ridiculous, the system. And all this, as much as I like this channel, and it's just like, I don't know if it's not long that it's amazing. There's many channels that I want to support because my channel has no monetary value because it will never have it. I will never have a free life, at least not on 3D. But I'm not sure about that. That's still to be seen, to be honest. But my life is a mystery even to me.
If there's a chance that it gets better, it's going to be by 2032, even though people think it's going to be doom and gloom in 2030. And it could be for all, if it's going to be doom and gloom by 2032, if I'm fairly healthy still by 2032, I doubt it, but I shouldn't doubt it. But let's just say statistically, it doesn't look as if they're going to let me survive that long. But this is what I mean is that everything has a consequence. That's the whole point of my research. Everything is connected and everything has a consequences. No matter what point of view, if you want to see it from a basic physical point of view or a basic spiritual, complementary, united way, it doesn't matter. Everything affects everything. Like, how do you call those? Domino effect.
It's not boring. I can tell you one thing. My life is not boring.
Yeah, it's not.
It's a lot of things that people can't imagine of horror, but it's at least not boring.
And others which are without. They are like people who, when they have caught a glimpse of a shadow, think they have seen the body itself. The victory of Irenaeus and his successors changed the course of Western history. By the 4th century, after the Emperor Constantine converted to Christianity, the checkpoints of the archons seemed to manifest on earth. Imperial decrees were issued. Gnostic books were gathered and burned.
Yeah.
The vibrant, chaotic diversity of early Christianity was narrowed into a single state-sanctioned creed. Gnosticism was forced underground, becoming a subterranean stream that would occasionally burst to the surface in the centuries to come. Just as Gnosticism was being suppressed in the Roman West, a new and even more ambitious Gnostic movement arose in the East. In 3rd century Babylon, a young man named Mani received a vision from his divine twin. This vision commanded him to synthesize the truths of all previous religions Spain to the Pacific coast of China. Mani's theology was a radical absolute dualism.
Wow, I didn't know
He
this.
taught that at the beginning of time, two co-eternal kingdoms existed, the kingdom of light and the kingdom of darkness. Darkness, driven by blind desire, attacked the light. To defend the Pleroma, the first man was sent into battle, but he was defeated, and his divine armor, his 5 light elements, was devoured by the demons of darkness.
Wow, I didn't
A
know
world
this.
is a redemption factory built by the divine realm to slowly filter that light back out of matter. Manichaeans were divided into the elect, who lived lives of extreme asceticism, refusing to even pick a fruit for fear of hurting the light trapped within, and the hearers, who supported the elect. For 1,000 years, Manichaeism was the greatest rival to both Christianity and Islam, until it was finally extinguished by waves of persecution in the East and West. But once again, the Gnostic ambers refused to be quenched. In the 12th and 13th centuries, it reappeared in southern France and northern Italy in the form of the Cathars, or the Pure Ones.
Wow.
The Cathars held views that would have been instantly recognizable to a 2nd century Valentinian. They believed the material world was the creation of a Rex Mundi, the demiurge. They rejected the physical sacraments of the Catholic Church, viewing the cross as an instrument of torture rather than a symbol of salvation. Their only sacrament was the consolamentum, a laying on of hands that supposedly transmitted the Holy Spirit and prepared the soul for its final escape from the cycle of reincarnation. The beginning of the end for this movement was the assassination of papal legate Pierre de Castelnau, near Saint-Yves,
wow.
France, a Cathar
That's why we have a station de Castelnau. You
In
see
Montreal.
what I mean? Quebec or Montreal respects true divinity. He was great, obviously. I'm just learning about this. That's why I love this channel. I subscribe, because it gives you a bit of history of Jewish mysticism and even Muslim mysticism, because they both have truth inside it. There's no need to fight. There's no need for war. But then again, try telling that to the politicians that use religion, nationality, language, like we see in Quebec a lot. I used to love speaking French and pronouncing French and always trying to be as French as possible, even though I grew up mostly Anglophone in the school. Not by my choice. I was too young to choose. But I hate this forcing of the French law and intimidation to anything that intimidates laws. And that's why it is the way it is.
When Raymond VI, Count of Toulouse, failed to act against the heresy and the murder in his territory, he was excommunicated. Not long after, Pope Innocent III launched the Albigensian Crusade, the first crusade ever directed against fellow Christians. It was a war of extermination. At the siege of Béziers, when asked how to distinguish the Cathars from the Catholics, the papal legate famously replied, "Kill them all, God will know his own."
Wow.
For centuries, Gnosticism was a ghost story told by its enemies. That changed in 1945 with the discovery of the Nag Hammadi Library.
Wow.
As we analyze these texts with authority, we see a diversity that Irenaeus never admitted. We find the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, which portrays Mary as the leading apostle who truly understood Jesus' teachings, while Peter is shown as jealous and small-minded. We find the Thunder, Perfect Mind, a breathtaking poem spoken by a female divine power that embraces all contradictions. These texts prove that Gnosticism was not just a rejection of the world, but a profound exploration of the internal self.
Yes.
They taught that God is not a person sitting on a throne, but a state of consciousness to be achieved.
Yes.
To prove that Gnosticism is not just a dusty relic of the past, we must look to the marshes of southern Iraq and Iran. Here,
Wow.
a group known as the Mandaeans still exists today. The Mandaeans are the last surviving Gnostic sect from antiquity. They revere John the Baptist as their greatest teacher and view Jesus as a false Messiah who betrayed the secret teachings. Their rituals, centered on frequent baptism in living water, provide a direct window into the world of 2nd century Gnosticism. They still speak a form of Aramaic, and their scriptures, the Ginza Rabbah, contain the same themes of the light world versus the dark world found in the Nag Hammadi scrolls. Today, the authority of Gnosticism lives on not in churches, but in our deepest cultural anxieties. We live in an era of deep fakes, digital simulations, and the growing sense that the official narrative of our reality is a fabrication. The Gnostic myth is the ultimate prehistory
Yeah.
I'm from elsewhere.
Yes.
The Gnostics were the first to suggest that the greatest sin is not disobedience, but forgetfulness. To be a Gnostic is to wake up in the middle of a dream and realize that you are the dreamer. They were silenced by the sword and the stake, but their core message, that the kingdom of light is within you, and that knowledge of the self is...
I guess there's Gnostics that believe in Jesus and ones that don't, obviously, but it doesn't matter because they're teaching truth. It doesn't matter who in history behaved in a way that they disagree. Again, that surprised me that they said Jesus was a fake. I don't believe Jesus was a fake, but I believe it got so contorted, his story, that when I hear anything about Jesus' followers, I know it's an energy so darker than the demiurge energy and darker than the materialistic governments of the elites and the Freemasons that eat babies for snacks. I know I should make fun of that, but that's the only way I could accept that I heard about that, is to make a joke about it. It's like when you're laughing, not to cry, because it is sad with the world we see. And this channel is amazing, and it's just starting. It doesn't have a lot of, that's why I subscribed. I usually don't subscribe to channels that have over 200,000 or 300,000 unless I really like them. But this channel, I don't know when it started, but it has 200 subscribers. Geez, my channel has not even 100, but it's almost like close to mine. But because it did 30 videos, it just started. It's not blocked on the algorithm. See, it started in 2025.
It's going to grow, meaning it's going to grow as a channel. This information is amazing, historical. It looks honest, but then again, how would we prove it? That's why some people say you would have to, but I don't think they would start a channel nowadays that there's so much scrutiny and not do the proper research. That's the thing. It's research behind information. It's easy to share information, but when you're doing the research yourself, then you take responsibility. That's why me in the past, whenever they blocked my videos about, I don't want to say the word again, it's always an illegal crime, just like what they're doing to me. Even in the perverted law systems, the new laws that they're presently blocked, C8, C9, C63, they went further criminal than using those. Meaning what I'm saying is I'm targeted on such an illegal, grandiose crime of the century, crime of the millennia, I think, with me. This is why I think the danger of the world ending, if my torture continues, is a real, very real possibility. But how would people know it's because of me? The same thing, that's why I say, just that I saw a few days that I don't know, because anyways, the whole point is we'll see what happens with the luck of Canada. If their intent is to continue to torture me, because they don't even let up one day. Every time I go out, when I come back, I feel itchy. I have to decontaminate my clothes, where I sleep, and because I get so itchy, and it's something chemical. It's not a regular natural parasite. It's things they put on purpose because I feel them like needle marks, and usually it's wherever I don't have plastic clothing or waterproof clothing. So the crime against me is continuing. So I always tend to repeat that fact at the end of every informative video like this one. It's important that people know Montreal is a criminal city until I could confirm in a few months that they stopped, which I doubt it, or they might use AI to replace me. But if you're not intuitive enough to know it's really me, well, then corruption and lies will continue, but only until 2032. It's not that that's it. People think it's about Jesus being reborn. No, Jesus didn't do a big effect in the past. Maybe a bit his teachings, if he really existed. So people even doubt that. Obviously, the Jewish people do. So, but if we see what he says when Guru Nath said something like that, and he says, I forgot his first name, or sort of always that mystical names, but this guy that has long white hair, beard and hair, and he says, he goes, he's gonna be ushering in in 2032, the Satya Yuga, and it's been accelerated, meaning it's a state of utopia on the planet that's starting in 2032, and it's already the truth behind that coming. It's like settling. It's creating now the truth that's bubbling up. Epstein, Trump taking power in a corrupt way, but in an honest corrupt way. Just like when I say police, it would be nice to make you admit what you're doing, not just to me with smiles and whatever, or once in a while somebody swears at me that they admit that they're really working for the police and they have no reason to swear at me when I'm just saying, can I pass? When So what I mean is that it's not that I'd like that. It's just that at least friends and family wouldn't be able to call me crazy if the government would actually say, yeah, we're targeting. So they're making my life so much that they want me to go crazy within the suffering that they're already putting me through. That's like monstrous. And like I said, crime of the millennia, not century. So good vibes, like, subscribe, share. This is a great channel. Watch it yourself. Watch my channel if you want more investigations and research and telling you how corrupt Montreal is getting worse or if it's getting better. Hopefully I'll be reporting it's getting better. Namaste.